What's going on? Welcome into another episode of Fuel Your Frame. Zero confusion meal planning for the things we love to do. I'm Johan Francis from CoachJohanCSCS.com. Let's do it. I'm fired up to bring you a diet for kettlebell intervals. Kettlebells. They're those implements that made a resurgence 15 years ago and help us push our cardio and hit intervals to the limit. You can combine exercises. You work at higher reps. It's very technical. And you do them in special intervals called every minute on the minutes, EMOMs. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Of course, we've reached the home stretch of our course, Fuel Your Frame. Next week, it's weightlifting, but you can see over here we've come quite a ways over the last couple months together. But this week, we're talking about it. EMOM sets. They're the type of sets where every minute you're working through a new set. And oftentimes, while they're not the only way to do kettlebells, they're the most intense and impactful way. Kettlebells are great because you can control the tempo. You can go faster and get more out of it, or you can slow it down and kind of take an active rest, right? You can do all this in the middle of one set, and that's what makes it different. For me, the first time we did a 300 exercise routine, you can go online and YouTube and see what that looks like. We did it, and that was the first time I really got introduced to a full kettlebell workout. I was gassed when I got done. I couldn't believe how hard it was, how intense it was doing push presses and not really getting a chance to put the bell down, right? I was only using 26 pounders, but I was racking both of them at the same time. It was intense. Kettlebells are just different. And one of the most advanced kettlebell coaches in this area at the time actually taught me that skill way back in 2007. Now they're popular. They're popular because you do more reps. So like 1 minute of kettlebell swings, you can do anywhere from 20 to 50, 60, or 70 reps, right? Again, you can change the intensity based on your rack and go back into it, or you can kind of slow it down based on how tired you are. And you work muscle groups, all of them at once, so that the moves are always compound moves. So when we do our EMOM, okay, E-M-O, the minute, M, EMOM, we're not going to work for an hour, all right? So even some of my hardest training days, can you? Sure. But you're going to get the most effect in that 30 to 40 minute range doing EMOMs. So maybe a 15-minute warm-up, then we go into it. Now these EMOMs they look kind of like this, right? That first minute, you introduce a new move, and that move is intense, or you do it with a very heavy weight. So because you're doing like a swing or a rack or something like this, or a floor to catch kind of a thing, or a goblet squat, again, go ahead and look some of these terms up, but they're plyometric to some degree, in the same vein that doing a touch and go deadlift is plyometric, okay? Don't get too lost on the terms. Just know that the first minute of your kettlebell work, it's hard. Then after that, you're just going to grind away, and this could be 5 minutes. That's a lot. You're going to do strength sets, and it's sub-max, right? So it could be swings here, push press here, and then the recovery time. This is the first time we're going to welcome in passive rest. And again, this is highly anaerobic, okay? Whenever we work our kettlebells, right, as you can see, there's the double rack position that Danielle is working. We work our kettlebells. We're pushing our muscles to work hard all the time. The repeated bursts, okay? Now for our science slide to break it all down. This is the first time we're going to need a passive rest. in the fuel your frame universe, right? In this course, all of our other workouts have been about active rest. Well, here's why. You can see this red line represents the phosphocreatine, but also it kind of intermingles with this anaerobic green line. And there you can see the percentage is 50-50. Okay? Right here, it's all sugar. It's endogenous sugar. It's blood sugar. It's fructose being broken down into sugars in your body, right? At that point, when the blood sugar's gone and we go into this next crossover point, right? But as we get there, right, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, we might also be breaking down our glycogen. And so muscle glycogen becomes important because, as we talked about before, your body is using all of its muscles at once. So this is a case where our muscle glycogen is going to be tapped like never before. So now for the eating. You want your calories to be high. You want to take in your carbs before. Okay? Okay. You want to take in your carbs before. Essentially fuel up. Okay? We want a lot of glycogen inside the muscle. The old carbo loading technique was a great one because carbo loading depleted your stores of glycogen in your muscles, but it allowed you to build up bigger chains of glycogen later on. So all we're going to do is fuel up just like we would with any other exercise. We're going to think about creatine. And I love this picture for creatine, right? You don't think of creatine as like veggies and starches, but you think of it as either powder or like red raw, steak, like beef tartare. This is nori rice, right? Seaweed has all the amino acids in theory to create endogenous creatine in your body. So amino sources, okay? So we're going to think about upping that when we start to eat or we have kettlebell day. That's one alteration we can make. And because we want to add variety, we're going to think of other alterations. And that is to eat our complex carbohydrates afterward. So again, we can just look to build glycogen inside of our bodies. So the cool thing about carbohydrates, or even complex ones, or complex are just simple carbohydrates stacked together. So if you eat simple or complex after recovery, your body isn't picky. But again, when we're eating or meal planning, we want variety, and this is a great way to add variety. Go for complex carbohydrates. What that means is we're looking for more starches on our kettlebell day, okay? We're looking for more sources of complex carbohydrates, and we're still looking to add creatine. So smoothies, rice, noodles, fiber, just smoothies all around. That's a good way to get in complex carbohydrates. So in the morning, you get in your sugars. It never changes. I'm sure you guys are, used to me saying this by now. Sandwiches, salads, right? Great source of the complex carbohydrates. Rye bread, barley bread, wheat bread, sourdough. Anything but just plain white, because while white bread isn't horrible, it's devoid of nutrients. And so we want to always be thinking about how to get the most amount of nutrients for our eating experience. And we're still getting good protein when we work with our kettlebells. This is what appears to be just types of sushi, right? This is some sashimi or something. But higher in complex carbohydrates, but then you got your protein and is okay in the calorie department. This is your snack, right? Could be your pre-workout snack. And your dinner, you're getting decent protein, good amount of protein, hitting your base. And this is a stew, right? With everything in there, veggies and other complex carbohydrates. One thing that I like to point out is if you go back in other weeks of Fuel Your Frame, the meal plans are always different. That's because variety is key. Variety is key when you're meal planning, guys. Let's conclude by recapping that kettlebell workouts, when they're EMOMs, we're using power. We need creatine. Your endurance system is not tapped unless you maybe do 2 in a row EMOMs. The kettlebells generally are this great hit interval. So complex carbohydrates are key. And we want to again emphasize that getting your complex carbohydrates is a great way to add variety to your meal planning. And of course, next week when we talk about technical lifting in the final part of week 3, we'll talk even more. But if you need me to make the whole plan for you, you can do that. Just head to the website, click Get Coaching, and you're only one step away from having a meal plan dropped off right there for you. Right? I'll need a little info like what you like to eat, but we can connect on that. And until then, keep practicing your kettlebells and stay up. Thanks.